Hi, and welcome to Casual Corner. I'm here today with my colleague, Keyshawn Wilson, and we're going to be discussing your frequently asked questions surrounding life insurance and pensions. Hi, Keyshawn. Thanks for joining me today. How you feeling?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good? I'm good. So I was talking to a client the other day. He's a sole proprietor. He's opening up his own business.
Hey.
A lot of the onus is on him as a provider, right? He asked about key man policies. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So a key man policy is just another term we use for a term policy. It's a temporary need. So for example, your key man or CEO in the example is deemed irreplaceable by the company owners. What would we do if this person doesn't survive? So what they would essentially do is take out a temporary insurance need on the value of this person, depending on what it is that they bring to the table for the company, for the duration of, in most cases, their expected tenure. So if you think that they're going to be working with you for the next 10 years and the thought of replacing them at any time within the next 10 years is catastrophic, you're going to get a financial plan to cover that. And what that usually helps with is the cost to find a like-for-like replacement. Maybe this person earns a lot, he deserves a lot because he creates a lot. Who would I have to hire to fill this man's shoes or this woman's shoes? So the cost to replace them, it could be cost associated with recruitment. It could even be cost associated with terminating the business as a whole because you don't have anyone to take over. That would be the case, let's say, if the key person is the owner and the owner passed and they wanted to essentially leave the business to family or leave the value to family for them to liquidate the business, any business loans, debts, or anything like that. They can do it that way as well. So the idea is protecting the business's most valuable asset financially if the worst were to happen to them, so they can do any of the following: replace, recruit, terminate the business, or even buy some time while dealing with the bits and pieces that are associated.
Okay, so that makes sense. So it's very much a business kind of expense versus a personal expense. So a sole proprietor can still leave funds to the family if the family's going to take over, but it doesn't quite function like a pension beneficiary, right? Because it's the business that would be benefiting from this key man policy.
I would say yes and no. So with a key man policy, the business has to be at the very least 51% beneficiary. So majority, which is at least 51%. The other half, or 49%, can actually be family-based benefits for either the CEO's family or the owner's family. It's really entirely up to the person. But for key man specifically, majority is the business, so at least 51%.
That's awesome. I like how it works in tandem.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for that.
No worries.
So while we're on the topic of beneficiaries, I get that question in pensions. I'm sure you get that question a lot in life insurance. Does it function the same? Is there anything different that clients need to know about?
I would say it definitely functions the same. You know, the only difference is when it comes to the money is in pensions, you only get as far as you contributed. With life insurance, the benefits tend to be far more money than what you've contributed, even from inception. So I would say value-wise, is a little bit different, but the concepts are all the same. You know, you have who you would like to receive the money in the event of your death. You also would have contingent beneficiaries that are associated if the beneficiaries was to die. And you also have to add a trustee for beneficiaries that are below the age of 18. So if money is due to them, you need somebody who is of age to collect on behalf of them until they are old enough to receive their benefits. So it's all pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's very much the same. Does it, like with pensions, it doesn't have to go through probate? Is that the same with life insurance?
So the beneficiary designation in a life insurance policy does not have to go through probate. It supersedes what you have written in your will, and what is outlined in the life insurance plan will be the case at the time of death.
That's excellent. Yeah, I remind my clients a lot that it doesn't have to go through probate, which means that their families have quick and easy access to funds in the event of their death. And I find that's a big comfort for my clients. I'm sure that's a huge comfort for your life insurance clients as well.
It's a very good selling point because especially with people who have a lot to lose, they know, when they die, there's going to be bits and pieces or people with their hands in what it is they have going on, whether it be through business, debts, bank loans, credit cards, all of these things that they don't get to touch, and you get to save that piece for your legacy.
So I understand the concept between term and permanent policies. Term being a temporary insurance on your life. Is there any other way to use term insurance?
Yes, definitely. Term insurance is a protection plan. So if you think of the thing that you want to protect, treat it like your car. At the end of the day, you transfer that risk of disaster to the insurance company at price of your premium. So treat life insurance just the same. Whatever you consider to be an asset, you can protect. And according to the value of that asset, determines the value of what it is that you're trying to protect. A nice example that we have for term insurance is mortgage protection. It's, again, a terminology like Keyman, but it's all term insurance for a temporary need. If a mortgage only lasts 25 years, I only need to be protected for that value for the duration that it is a liability, if that makes sense.
So it's interesting that you bring up like insuring your car. A lot of my clients are happy to insure their car and their bike and their home because they see the benefit of it if anything goes wrong. But not many people in Bermuda especially consider life insurance.
Well, nobody wants to think about death or associate death with anything immediate. So we're going to put it on the back burner. But I think it's time that we start to be proactive when it comes to these things that are inevitably going to happen, and prepare for them, as opposed to react to them or have your family react to them in the worst case scenario.
I agree. I think that not a lot of people remember to insure their life because without you don't have anything.
I think we should change the term and call it income insurance, because if we put income into the span of it, people tend to be a little bit more interested, because like I know when it comes to my clients, they're more interested in the money they create for themselves in the pension products, as opposed to the money that they'll create for their family to ease the burdens of whatever it is they had going. Like the minute you say protect your money, it's got a whole totally different swing.
And you work hard for it, right?
Absolutely.
And I know that with pensions, they can really get interested about compounding interest, right? So in a permanent policy, when you explain to them, it's the same concept. You're building cash value over time for a greater benefit upon death. You need that time in a permanent policy, much like you need the time in a pension account. It all clicks. And then they're like, you know what? Actually, I should probably get life insurance.
And life insurance is not for you like your pension's for you. It is for those you need.
Correct. It's not an income generating vehicle, much like your pension isn't really an income generating vehicle short term.
Yeah.
It's definitely a long term plan, much like life insurance.
Yeah. There is no safe, quick way to meet your goals. They take time, they take effort. It's best to have patience.
Yep. Time is key.
Absolutely.
So while we're on the topic of time, how long do you think someone should have a life insurance policy for? Is there a set term if they're looking to cover something temporary, or should they look at a permanent policy all the time? Like, which is your favorite product?
I would say most people's primary need is the temporary insurance coverage. As long as you're alive, you will live to meet the goals that you have. As long as you live that 20, 35 years to save, invest, and do everything you have to do, 9 times out of 10, you're going to create your own nest egg, and essentially, hopefully, that helps you at the end of the day. But I think primarily is always going to be protection. Whole of life is more of a creation tool, and does add some value of protection, but I think it's more for last expenses that may be a case if you haven't been able to create anything for that time. Another good concept would be to transfer wealth that you already have, in a whole of life policy. If you already have money sitting there and you don't know what to do with it, you can filter it into a permanent and participating plan to create more value than the value you had, sit not in the first place. So when it comes to time for term, depends on how long the need is. at least up until retirement, as long as you're earning and creating, you do want to protect your ability to earn and create. Or if you have a specific need, like the key man policy, you only need the amount of years the person's going to be working there. Or with the mortgage protection, you only need the amount of time that your mortgage is a liability. So depending on the person, 20, 25, 30 years, is really up to what the individual has got.
So a lot like pensions, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. Yeah, it takes a more in-depth conversation. I tell people it's like going to the doctor. In order for me to recommend what's going to be best for you, you have to be really open and honest with me about what your goals are in life, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that plays a lot into a life insurance policy.
We actually have a term for it. It's called a needs analysis.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I think we do those, don't we?
Yeah.
No, so those are very good answers. A lot of things like I know about life insurance, but I like the way you phrase it a lot of the time. It's been excellent, just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other and having that explanation that maybe I would have taken a different approach. So thank you.
Appreciate it. No worries.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Casual Corner. Please join us for our next episode. If you have any questions about anything we discussed today, please feel free to contact us.